The number of fish per square meter will determine the overcrowding aspect. John advises on the correct number of catfish per square meter.
In a square meter should be occupied by 3 fish. Yes. As I've told you, the catfish are carnivorous. When you overcrowd them, some of them will eat others. So they need enough space also for the growth also. Competition for food also. When you keep 2 main catfish in one pond, they'll compete for food. Some will feed, others will not. So you'll have a different growth rate of the catfish. That's why you should grow them at specified and recommended spacing.
To attain the consistent market in catfish rearing, you need to establish a constant source of the fingerlings. John buys catfish fingerlings from certified catfish fingerlings raisers. This is because all of the catfish in his farm pond are male. This is referred to monosex culture.
Fingerlings from the catfish, we have the farmers around, we have the hatchery in Sagana. We have the hatcheries for both tilapia and catfish. That's where we get our fingerlings. Also, we have other farmers like our farmer in Chuja, who is raising the fingerlings for the other farmers to buy from.
Monosex culture is the practice of stocking the fish ponds with males alone. This is due to the fact that the males grow almost twice as fast as the females.
What happens, we have the species of the catfish which will breed. Ours is only male sexes. So these ones, they are not for laying eggs. For us, we wanted it for the market, for the meat. So when we need for the hatcheries, we will now get the female catfish for the laying eggs.
After purchasing the smaller fingerlings, John advises they should be reared in a separate pond from the bigger catfish. If they are kept together with the bigger fish, their chances of survival is minimal as they will be eaten by the bigger ones. They should be fed with special category of feed known as the starter.
We have 2 types of fingerlings. We have the juvenile stage and we have the young ones. When you get the young ones, you need to feed them in a drum or bucket so that they become the juvenile stage. When you buy them when they are in juvenile stage, now juvenile stage they are ready for putting the pond direct. So that's how you deal with the fingerlings. What happens when you introduce the young fingerlings in the pond? You have to keep them aside, not the ponds. You feed them with the starter so that they can get the energy. Now when they stay in the separate place for 3 months, now they become the juvenile stage. Now they can survive in pond conditions. Now you can introduce them to the ponds now. That's how you take care of the fingerlings. You don't bring them direct to the pond. So you have to keep them separate somewhere. They feed so that they become the juvenile stage. Now you can bring them to the pond now. Now you feed them from there now.
Supplementary feed consists of cheap feed materials available locally, such as terrestrial plants or agricultural byproducts. They range from aquatic plants, terrestrial plants, animal manure, just to mention a few.
Planktons, like farmers who have the natural ponds from the ground. From the ground, there are those plants which grow in water. That's what we call the plankton, and it is food for fish. It will provide the fish with the required nutrients to grow. And also, it acts as a laying medium for the fish. The fish, they lay eggs under those plants.
The catfish requires nutrients like fats, proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, and vitamins.
For us, we feed them with the locally available materials. We mix the poultry droppings and animal dung, but not fresh. The one which is as decomposed. Yes, because it has the worms which are fed by catfish. We maintain the same feed. We mix the poultry poo and animal dung. As I've said, the fish like worms and also the poultry. So when we mix the two, we can put them in a sack, then we immerse the sack in the water.
John feeds the catfish twice a day. that is, in the morning and in the evening. The feeding should be done at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Feeding the catfish earlier than 10 a.m. is not advised as the water is a bit cold and oxygen levels are low.
You feed them at the corners of the pond. That's the places where the catfish like eating. And also you can introduce like a bell during the time of feeding. You can ring something, so they know it's time for feeding. You can train them. During the hot days, when the catfish they take food, they take it down the pond. So when it's not time for feeding, they now feed on that food they took down there.
John does not allow the mosquitoes to breed near the fish pond.
You should avoid the mosquitoes in the ponds because they contaminate water, and when the water is contaminated, the fish can die.
A challenge for John is the sensitivity the fish have with contaminated water. He highlights that contamination is brought about when there is presence of disease-causing bacteria in the water. Also, when the water has low amount of oxygen, it will bring about the suffocation of the catfish.
What will directly affect the catfish is when the water is polluted. Like for example, in your pond, if one fish gets sick, you should remove it from the water, because when you don't, it will spread the disease to the other catfish. So you need to monitor the pond, and you avoid the other animals like lizards getting to the pond. So the pond should be free from predators and contamination. That's how you keep the pond well clean to avoid the problem of oxygenation. So when the pond lack oxygen, the catfish will be suffocated, and when they get suffocated, they can die, all of them suddenly.
The catfish have behavioral characteristics that protect them. The vigorous movement of the body helps them to chase away predators or possible attackers. John explains the adaptive nature when they feel too exposed.
You don't know, they are finding a place to hide. You know, they like hiding the mud, and now you see now they are very exposed. Now they are looking somewhere to hide, to burrow. Yes, because now they are being affected by there's sunlight. They don't like to be, because they are soft animals, they like being in a certain environment. So because now they are exposed, they are not in the right environment for their survival.
Catfish is very marketable. John enlightens us on why.
We invested with 50,000, and we are expecting to get over 100,000 when we sell all the fish we have.
John expounds on the challenges he faces.
The challenges we face, one of them is predators, because we have the birds which can come to the pond and start feeding on our fish. Secondly, also the weather. Sometimes you find like in hangars it is very cold. Even our fish, they don't feed because of the cold weather. So we have those challenges. Also the diseases affect the fish production. Also market, like pricing, and also the availability. So those are some of the challenges of the catfish farming. Because you find most of the customers, they are used to tilapia. So when you start introducing the customers to catfish from tilapia, you find there's challenge, because some of them will criticize the fish.
We have come to the end of today's episode of Catfish Farming. Keep it KTN Farmers TV for more informative shows.